So if you're a spirits nerd like I am, part of the joy of the occupation is trading stuff with friends. And if you do that at a sort of national level, what you end up with is a whole bunch of little tiny sample bottles that you've traded with your friends in the biz. And the logical conclusion of that, eventually, given a long enough span of time, is you have a box entirely too filled with little sample bottles of stuff, and you need to do like a session just to get done with all of your stuff. So that's what this is. We've got a whole bunch of rum samples here, and we're just gonna power through them and do a whole bunch of reviews, kind of mixed categories all at once. So that's the plan. All of these are pretty dang strong, bottled over well over 40% ABV. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try them neat, give you some initial tasting notes, and then give them a squirt of water as I go through. Some of these caps have a little plastic insert that kind of gets trapped, which is annoying. Go back through after I've added water, and give them one last set of notes. And after that, we shall see how they perform, and we'll give them a rating out of 100 points. Okay. I am under a little bit of a time crunch here because my wife is supposed to do a business meeting in about 45 minutes or so. So let's get this started. All right, first up is a rum from Oaxaca in Mexico. I reviewed a whole number of Mexican rums before. This is my first time with this one. For the most part, Mexican rums I've had. Okay, so there's the ones along the coast, along the sort of traditional rum growing regions of Mexico, or cane growing regions of Mexico, that are good, but tend not to impress that much. Once you get sort of further towards the west, further towards smaller producers, then things start to get more interesting. Paranubas, which I reviewed previously, is probably the most commonly available. What I'm reviewing right now is Cañada Aguardiente de Oaxaca. So made in the same region as Paranubas. Same rough category of still. It's a calm still, but it's a still that's been kind of modified and built up by the family. To meet their own special needs, and it's not direct fired. It's not wood fired. This is actually heated by diesel. So we're gonna get something maybe a hair bit more refined than the others. So let's give this a nose. 53% alcohol, bottled circa 2020, cane juice based. On the nose. Very nice nose. Extremely clean. Almost, it's something about this reminds me of Guadalupe. So Guadalupean rum agricole. Very delicate. There's some stewed, what is that? It's grapefruity, but it's like stewed grapefruit juice. So take your grapefruit juice, like juice it into a pot, and then like set that pot to boil for a couple of minutes. That's kind of what you're getting on this. Lots of white pepper, some brine, some just straight up seawater. Olives, kind of a mixed olives, black and green. There's a kind of expensive cigarettes note, like American spirits with a little bit of perique in there. I always get excited when I see perique in a spirit, and I'm getting it here. Really, it smells like wet leaves. It smells a little bit like I'm just nosing like a rainforest after it's been, storming for a couple of hours. There's some. This is really sort of delivering its own sort of spicy twist on traditional agricole style notes. So I'm getting a little burning plastic, but nice. Lime, more like lime peel than lime juice. Some soapstone. A lot of minerality, kind of like almost a Viognier kind of thing, like a Northern Rhone Viognier, that kind of thing. There's that tea, herbal tea, orange picote, I think it is. Picote, something like that. A little bit of grassiness. Yeah, like one clump of freshly cut grass. And maybe one black Twizzler in here. There's a little hint of anise in here, but not very much. So let's give it like one black Twizzler. Some papaya, some kiwi, some nectarine, a little tropical fruit. It's a very pretty nose. It's not as sort of vegetal and food-like as something like a Paranubis. This is much more approachable on the palate. Oh God, that's good. So this doesn't have the power of something like a Nason, for example, or a Biel from Guadalupe. But there's a delicacy here that is extremely attractive. It's like Pauillac versus Pessac Léognan, that kind of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? So we're getting like a grapefruit, but it's more like almost, it's like popping in my mouth. There's like a grapefruit pop rocks kind of effect here, where but like it's grapefruit pop rocks mingled with like actual rocks. There's a ton of minerality on this. Oh man. So we got the grapefruit pop rocks, the actual rocks, but then brine, the plastic smoke again, but nice. Tobacco notes again, that the kind of expensive cigarettes kind of thing. What's really shocking me here is actually the mouthfeel. It managed to be both kind of a little bit punchy. It's very intense, but it's also at the same time like silky smooth. We need. So I mentioned before in like some, I think it was some tequila reviews, we need to take back like smoothness as like a positive, distinctive tasting note. This is, the way this behaves. Smooth is the right word for this, but it's not smooth as like a negative descriptor indicating like the lack of qualities. This is a positive descriptor indicating how nicely this is sort of massaging my tongue and the rest of my mouth as I drink it. There's some lemon peel in this, lime peel as well. Lots of grass. Grass on the finish, really. White pepper, paprika. Again, we're kind of getting some Northern Rhone paprika. Viognier. And even like an orange thing. What is that? So is that orange herbal tea again? But also like some orange Marnier. Grand Marnier, I'm sorry. So like, but like floral at the same time. So like some of the, if you made like a liqueur out of bergamot or something. Kiwi again. It's actually very easy drinking this. Very good stuff. I'm impressed. We're going to give this A couple squirts of water and come back to it. All right. So that's 2 squirts. Let's see if that's enough. Yep, that's good to go. All right, let's move on to the second rum in our little sample lineup. This is the Habitation Velier Privateer, unaged. So I've been critical of Privateer in Massachusetts in previous reviews. I've always thought, I mean, there's nothing to criticize with their staff, the distillers, some of whom have left now. Maggie Campbell has gone off to Mountain Gay these days. There's nothing to criticize in their aging. They're using good wood. But I've always found that they were the Privateer folks were kind of pulling their punches. It always felt like they were trying to make something that wasn't going to offend, the bourbon drinkers they were trying to seduce over. They weren't trying to offend those folks too much. And I've always felt like they could push things a little bit further in terms of, full flavored rum. So this is, but this is an opportunity for them. This is not actually bottled by them. This is bottled by the Velier folks. This is totally unaged, has never seen oak, straight off the still. 375.1 grams per hectoliter of congeners. Batch distilled, molasses based, bottled at 62% alcohol. And let's see what we got. Oh, that's not what I was expecting. So from my impression with previous Privateer releases is that the distillate is a little bit lacking in character, and that's not the case here. This feels like, I mean, I don't even need the simile. This just is extremely characterful. There's and what's surprising me, I mean, whoa, there's lots of like fat on this. This smells like a very, very fat spirit. Like I'm smelling buttercream of all things. Like I'm getting like a high end like butter pecan ice cream kind of thing. But then on top of that, tons of pear of all things. Very pear driven. Like pear of all sorts. Like to the point where if you hand this to me neat, I would think maybe this was like a pear brandy of some sort. But there's like there's that sort of almost fat character, like you're nosing butter to this, which I don't associate with fruit eau de vie. There's some white pepper, some minerality, like a sandstone-y kind of note. A little bit of a rubber licoricey kind of thing, which is reminding me this is actually rum. But it's mostly dominated by the pear and like the sheer fatness of this, for lack of a better term. On the palate. So one has to think of like modern art with this, because this is a rum working with a fairly small palette of flavors, maybe like 4 or 5 at most. But it's doing a lot with those 4 or 5 different flavors. So what we're getting is, again, pear. Lots of pear. Pear of all different kinds. Pear brandy, fresh pear, pear skin, pear stem. And then like that buttercream kind of note. That sort of buttery ice cream sort of note. A little black Twizzler. Maybe some absinthe in there too. That minerality, the rocks are back. Some fennel. something in this the sort of funky, almost funky grapey kind of thing in this makes me think of Moscato d'Asti, like the good stuff. And a little bit of a peppery character, like just Scotch bonnet pepper, island cuisine, that kind of thing. This is very good distillate. I don't know if this is sort of the standard stuff that goes into privateer's rum, but this is impressive. I'm very impressed with this. I think I like the Cañada a little bit more, but this is, already at this point, this is my favorite privateer that I've had thus far, by miles. 3, 4, just 5 squirts, and then come back to it. Oh, that's good. I do wish there were like some second and third tier flavor profiles in there. It still feels very, one dimensional in that, or at least flat. There isn't a whole lot of depth to this, but that's okay. I'm still enjoying it because it's just so vivid in what it's already doing. All right, but let's move on to the aged rums in our lineup. Rum number 3 is a Clairin from Sajous Distillery. So in the northern part of Haiti. This is an Ansyen. It's been aged, and it's been aged 28 months in an ex-Caroni cask. This particular cask was picked by Astor Wine and Spirits in New York. Bottled around 2020. And there are many different details on Sajous, which I'll, you can find the original review, which I'll link up down below. But basically, it's pot distilled cane juice. This one is bottled at 54.7%. Sajous was always kind of my favorite of the original lineup of the Velier Clairins. So I'm kind of really excited to see what happens when you throw it in a barrel for a while, especially like an ex-Caroni barrel. On the nose. Oh, hello there. So there is a little bit of that Caroni character to this. There's a little bit of like burning rubber cement. But it's kind of overwhelmed in this case by just, like brine, a little bit of vanilla, and just this gorgeous fruitiness and this wonderful, like, the most beautiful flower arrangement ever. There's like a floral, oaky floral thing going on here. Yeah, anise, black olive, toasted. What is that? Like toasted apple, toasted dessert apple. Put a spritz of lime in there. Like what is that? Like a citrus sherbet. Like you made a sherbet out of like some lime, maybe a little bit of orange, some lemon. But then there's a mineral touch in this again. Rock dust, a little. But then there's some papaya, some peach. Really more peach eau de vie than actual peach. A little dried cherry. It's a very nice nose. Again, even right now, I can sense that, you leave this in the cask for another 2 years, it's going to get really dangerous. But even just right now, this is a terrific nose. Wow. All right, on the palate. Oh. So it's the alcohol is definitely coming through on this. Actually, more than the previous two. I think that's more due to the oak influence. It's very peppery and sharp. But it's just lovely. And the finish, I'm still tasting the finish. It just hangs on endlessly. It's very, with this sort of peppery, fruity quality. Oh, lots going on there. Black cherry, black pepper, vanilla bean, cream soda with like a dash of fresh ginger thrown in there. Some flowers, like flower concentrate, if that makes sense. Seawater, like brininess, anise, a little bit of burnt tire too. I guess that's the Caroni cask. Some apricot too, like lime, but more like lime zest than the juice. Maybe a couple of raisins, like golden raisins too. Little dried fruit hints. But it still has that kind of slightly green vegetal quality that I associate with Sajous. There's little suggestions of like seaweed in this, of like mint leaves, which I'm really enjoying. Oh, this is lovely. I can't help but wish it had been in the cask longer, but man, this is good. I'm gonna give this a couple squirts of water. 3, 4. All right, 54.7. Let's see if 4 does it. No, needs another half squirt or so. Okay. And onto our last rum. This is an offering from Barrell, who have now become crazy famous through their bourbon releases, but on the side they do rum. This is the Barrell private release rum B844, which is 85% Barbados, which pretty much guarantees it's Foursquare, because Mount Gay and the others aren't really sharing their stocks right now. Let's see, no age statement on this. But it was finished in a Sauternes barrel. Bottled circa 2019. No idea what the extra 15% of other rum is, but the 85% Foursquare should probably be dominating this. 64.43% ABV. So quite strong. Let's see what we got. Okay, a little bit. So it's a tricky nose to navigate because it's there's certain elements that I can kind of immediately understand, but there's others that are kind of throwing me off right away. So it's a big woody monster, first of all. So I'm getting like a vanilla, creme brulee. Just kind of like a cooperage smells. You need, if you haven't like ever visited a cooperage, like a place where they make barrels, like you need to do it just to get those kind of noses, those smells into your nose. But then there's something more, freaky about this. There's that like a lemon lime syrup sort of thing. Really like a lemon lime zest syrup. Like kind of layered all on top of this, which is throwing me off and kind of, not in a bad way. I'm kind of enjoying it, but it's a little weird. Some whipped cream, white pepper. Big old slice of pineapple cake with some kirsch poured all over it. So a little cherry element. Stoved red Virginia tobacco. And kind of like a lemony, what is that? Like a lemon drops character after a while. And then on the palate, okay, so it's very nippy, first of all, and it's very weird. Sauternes is a dessert wine made in southern Bordeaux in France. So you would initially think maybe that would be adding a sweeter element to this, but that's not really what's going on. What's going on is actually a bit baffling. I'm kind of getting like a birthday cake meets cough drops kind of thing on the palate, beyond the sort of just sheer alcoholic oomph of this thing. Yeah, so take your birthday cake, drop a ton of cough drops all over it, but then you're going to add some freshly ground pepper, black pepper, some vanilla wafers, some black olives, some mixed tobaccos. It's just a war between the sort of bourbony elements, the sort of, rum that's trying to be bourbon stuff versus the cough drops. That's kind of what's going on. There's some kind of vague citrus hints. I mean, I like this. I like this a lot, actually, but it comes across as a little bit confused, which is something that I kind of commonly get in finished spirits, that sort of dip in a very assertive cask at the last minute, kind of produce this kind of just slightly, kind of profile where there's lots of elements and they're not really talking to each other. I'm gonna come back to this though after a couple squirts of water, and we'll see if it integrates a little bit better. 2, 3, 4. This is going to need 5, I know it. Up, yep, that's got it. Nope, needs a little more. So like 5 1/4. All right, let's go back through. See what happens with the addition of water, and give these a final score. So back to the Cañada rum from Oaxaca. Ooh, okay. On the nose, now that it has water, a lot of lemon comes out, which I'm enjoying. A lot of lemon and some more rocks and a lot of spiciness. So I'm getting kind of a pepper, cardamom, clove kind of thing. Oh man, this is good. I mean, it's a little bit of a chameleon, right? So it can kind of, because it doesn't feel like an agricole kind of rum. This is wild fermented, right? So, this is wild yeast. So it has a more, it's a little bit more crazy in how when you approach it than, something like a Nisson or a Rum GM, something like that. But, I mean, it's gesturing in that it's much cleaner than something like the Paranube is. And what's tricky is it kind of just changes on you constantly. There's spices, but the spices are shifting. It's like one moment it's a little bit more leafy. Another moment it's a little bit more olivey. Another moment it's a little bit more citric. But there's always this kind of now, especially now that I've added water. There's there's just this spicy character going through, and this rocky character. Pepper, cardamom, clove, and lots of like soapstone, sandstone, which I'm really enjoying. On the palate. Oh. And again, despite my cough there, what really strikes me is just the silkiness of this. It feels like it's massaging my tongue with like a chiffon or something. Especially after you add water, kind of get the proof down, get the alcohol nip out of there. Oh, it's just this is making my mouth feel very happy right now. Flavor-wise, it gets actually more spicy. Yeah, the cardamom comes out, clove, black pepper. It really feels like I'm drinking like, I don't even know what you call it, like grapefruit spiced tea, something like that. This is very good though. This is cutting the difference between delicious and just high quality very, very well. I could drink a ton of this and at the same time appreciate just how well made this is. I'm going to give this 87 points. This is very well made. It's up there with my favorite rums from Mexico ever. Very well made. A little bit tricky to find these days, but actually not that expensive. So if you see it, grab it. All right, that's the Cañada. Moving on to the Habitation Velier Privateer, now with a little bit of water. Actually, I should say unaged, because there's an aged version out there, which I'm sure it's good. I'm not really excited about it, but I'm sure it's good. On the nose. Now with water. Doesn't really develop a whole lot. So it's even more pear driven than it was before, if nothing else. Doesn't smell as fatty. It kind of trades the fatty element for when it was neat for more pear and a little bit more of a licorice thing, black licorice. And then that's kind of it. Again, the flavor set for this spirit, this privateer, is very, very narrow. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's just working within a very, very narrow set of flavors on the palate. But on the palate, the buttercream is still there. So we're getting the buttercream, and then the rocks have come up, and the pears have come up. So it's really, pears and rocks dancing atop a receding floor of buttercream, and throw in a little star anise there to make things interesting. Is it a hair simple? Yes, absolutely. Is it very good? Yes, absolutely. Is it lovable? Absolutely. And moreover, it's like my favorite thing that Privateer have done up until this point. What do I give this? I can't make it to 85 on this, but I'm going to give this an 84 plus out of 100. This is very good stuff, and if you're a fan of American rum, you owe it to yourself to try to score a bottle of this. All right, moving on though. All right, back to the aged Sajous. 28 months in an ex-Caroni cask, and now with water. Oh God, I love this stuff. I could nose this for days. It's just so beautifully like fruity and floral, and there's like a sour thing which appeals to me. Anytime you throw sour into a spirit, I'm going to be interested. Like flowers and sour cherries and a little hint of anise. And I know this isn't molasses based, but something about this reminds me of molasses cookies. You know, the ones with like the molasses, but also like some ginger, some cinnamon, clove, that kind of thing. Oh God, it's a good nose. I mean, it's put this next to like standard Sajous. It's still narrower in terms of what it's bringing. But there's like a delicious factor here, which cannot be denied, and that I absolutely appreciate. On the palate, God damn, that's good. Oh, I mean, like, just pick some wild berries, like some sour wild berries, and throw them into your mouth, along with like all the flowers, some fennel, some like brown sugar, real brown sugar. We're not talking like the crap where you take white sugar and you mix it with a little molasses. We're talking like real stuff, real brown sugar that's made from, you know, the proper process. It's too late in the day right now for me to get into that. Real brown sugar, and just like this endless kind of peppery finish. Oh God, this is good. A tough one to rate. I mean, a lot of these are actually pretty hard to rate, but this one in particular, because I see the potential here. You know, I love this profile. I love the sour, the floral characters going on. This is really terrific. But, you know, if I step back and try to be a little bit more objective, you know, could this have been in the cask for another 28 months and benefited? Yes, absolutely. Is it as good as I feel like, you know, the unaged version that I've had is so far? Not quite. So, you know, as much as I love this, and I love this a lot, I mean, I want to push this into the 90s, and I just don't think it can get there quality-wise. It's just short. I'm going to give this an 89 plus out of 100. And actually, that's like a point. I have a point above where I put it in my initial notes. 89 plus out of 100. This is real close. And if you can get this for a good price, I mean, grab it. This is terrific stuff. So, and it's an interesting challenge for me because I thought, you know, like maybe the Clairins wouldn't age very well. That maybe like they just weren't suited for that. They were a little bit too delicate, a little bit too, yeah, kind of rustic and thin in their build, that they wouldn't take oak very well. This is kind of challenging me on that. It's kind of putting me to the test by showing me that, yeah, these things can absolutely age and take on new characters if you put them in the right cask, at least. And yet at the same time, I have to say, this isn't quite there yet. This hasn't quite surpassed its unaged counterpart. I think it would get there with, you know, another 2 years in the cask, but it's not quite there yet. So 89 plus. And finally, let me get a drink of water. Finally, back to the barrel. The B844, 85% Barbados, finished in Sauternes. On the nose, now that it's been proofed down. Okay, there we go. It felt a little bit weird and kind of a little disjointed before, but now that it's had some water and a little bit of time to settle, now it feels more integrated. So we're getting really like bourbony rum, like rum, like inviting the bourbon folks over, like, hey taters, come on over here, like I'm your friend. But like that united with a lovely lemon sorbet overcoat kind of thing. Plus like an overstewed Earl Grey note and lots of pepper, lots of black pepper. I mean, it's a good nose. It's a very good nose. On the palate, oh, that's much more integrated. Like, again, water just kind of brings this thing together. And it's a great example of why you need to try to add water to things every once in a while. You know, it's not like every time it's going to like make things better. Most of the time it doesn't do anything at all. Sometimes it makes things worse. But every once in a while, you add some water to a spirit, it just kind of makes everything click a little bit. And this is one of those cases. So once again, it's rum. We're taking a rum, kind of trying to be bourbon again. But I mean, the lemony cough drops thing kind of give this an extra dimension now. So it's like, it's like cakey, tobacco-y. Like, take some cake, put some tobacco on it, like just like, you know, take some stoved Virginia tobacco, layer it all over your cake. And then you're going to take some lemony dessert sauce and you're going to pour it all over that and you're going to stuff it in your mouth and it's delicious. And again, that sort of Earl Grey thing too. Again, gun to my head. Like, this isn't delivering those sort of tertiary, those third tier flavor profiles that I really look for to push something in the 90s. But this is a wonderful example of a finishing done right. You know, so we're talking, in my opinion, high column content Foursquare that's been just smothered with lots of bourbon oak and then a little bit of this Sauternes kind of character. And it works. It really does actually kind of work. I would give this 88 out of 100. Not a bad grab at all if you can find it for a good price. So what do we got here score-wise? The Cañada, 87. 84 plus for the HV Privateer, Unaged. We got an 89 plus for the Clairin, the Sajous, Ansyen, Astor pick. And for the Barrell Private Release B844, we have got an 88. So in general, I am very happy with these samples. I am very happy to have tried them, and thanks to all the folks who've sent them to me. That's kind of all I got. Thanks for watching. Hope this was educational. Grab these if you like them, and cheers.